Ladies, here's the truth most men will never say out loud. While you think he's noticing your outfit, your makeup, or your smile, he's actually paying attention to something far deeper. The little things, the way you carry yourself, how you make others feel, how you respond when no one's watching. These hidden signals, they tell him more about you than words ever could. So today, let's pull back the curtain and talk about the 6 hidden things men secretly notice about women even when they pretend they don't. The first thing most people assume men notice is the obvious appearance, the hair, the dress, the smile. But the truth is, what really catches a man's attention goes way beyond what you wear or how you look. It's your energy. It's the atmosphere you bring with you when you walk into a room, the quiet kind of confidence that doesn't need validation, doesn't beg for attention, but somehow draws it anyway. You can't fake that kind of presence. It's not in the way you pose. It's not in the loudness of your laugh, and it's not about being the most beautiful person there. It's in the way you carry yourself when you think no one's looking. The calm assurance that says, I'm good, I'm grounded, I belong here. That's the energy men notice, even if they don't consciously realize it. When you walk into a room with that centered energy, shoulders relaxed, chin lifted just enough, eyes that meet people with warmth, not judgment, something shifts. You don't have to perform because your presence already speaks. Men are wired to notice confidence that doesn't scream. It hums quietly in the background. It's not arrogance, it's assurance. And that's powerful. Think about it. There's a difference between walking in to be seen and walking in because you know your worth. The first one seeks approval. The second one radiates peace. One pulls energy, the other gives it. And men feel that. They can sense when a woman is chasing attention versus when she's simply existing in her truth. It's in your body language, the way you move through space. Are your gestures rushed, or do you take your time? Do you shrink to take up less room, or do you stand with presence, not dominating, but grounded? Men pick up on that subtle shift. They notice the way you cross your arms when you feel uncertain, or the way you smile without needing a reaction. That's what draws them in. The quiet authenticity behind every movement. And here's the secret. This kind of energy doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from knowing yourself. From spending enough time alone to be comfortable with silence. From having moments where you don't need to be the loudest person in the room because you already trust your own worth. That's when your energy becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to attract, but because you've learned to just be. Men notice when you carry peace instead of pressure. They notice when you can stand tall without arrogance, when your presence calms the space instead of competing with it. That's what makes someone unforgettable. The energy that says, I'm not trying to prove I'm enough. I already am by. And that kind of presence, it lingers. It's what makes someone think about you long after the conversation ends. Because while looks might catch attention for a moment, energy holds it. It tells him who you are without a single word spoken. So when you walk into that next room, remember this: you don't need to perform to be noticed. You don't need to chase validation to be valued. Just show up fully as yourself, grounded, aware, peaceful. Because that quiet confidence you carry, that's what speaks the loudest. And that's what he secretly notices first: your energy before your words. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat people who can't give them anything in return. And trust me, men notice that. They might not talk about it, they might not even realize it right away, but it registers. It's in those small, almost invisible moments. The way you speak to a waiter, how you react when someone messes up your order, or how you treat a stranger who crosses your path. Those moments reveal more about your character than any words ever could. See, it's easy to be kind when everything's going your way, when people are watching, when you have something to gain. But it's when the situation is inconvenient or unimportant, that's when your true nature shows. Men pay attention to that because it tells them something deep about your heart. Not the surface level kindness that looks good, but the kind that comes from a place of genuine respect for others. There's something magnetic about a woman who treats everyone with the same level of dignity. Whether it's the CEO or the janitor, the friend or the stranger, she doesn't switch her manners based on what she can get. That kind of consistency speaks volumes. It tells a man that she's not performing, she's authentic. And authenticity, that's rare. When a man sees you showing patience to someone who's struggling, when he sees you smiling at the person others overlook, when you thank someone most people ignore, that hits differently, because he knows that's not for show. That's who you are. It shows grace, compassion, and strength. Not the kind that needs to shout, but the kind that lives quietly inside of you. And you might not think he's paying attention in those moments. But he is. He notices when you take the time to say, thank you, when you don't roll your eyes, when you give someone the benefit of the doubt. He notices how you handle small interactions, because that's how he imagines you'll handle the big ones. If you can show empathy to a stranger, he knows you're capable of kindness and love. It's the same reason why men are drawn to women who lift others up instead of tearing them down. It's not just about being nice, it's about emotional maturity. A woman who doesn't need to step on anyone to feel seen, who can appreciate others without feeling less herself, that kind of woman stands out. Because she brings peace, not competition. She creates warmth around her, and men feel safe in that space. You see, kindness isn't weakness. It's strength under control. It's knowing you could be cold or impatient, but choosing not to be. It's a quiet power, one that builds trust without words. Men might not always know how to describe it, but they recognize it instantly. It's that moment when they think, she's different. And here's what most people miss. Real kindness doesn't need an audience. It shows up in the smallest, most unnoticed actions. The way you hold the door, how you listen to someone who's struggling, the way you show up for people even when it's inconvenient. Those moments build the kind of reputation that doesn't need to be defended. It's who you are, and it shows. So when you move through the world, remember this: the little things are never really little. They're what reveal your heart, your patience, your integrity. Men don't just notice your beauty, your voice, or your charm. They notice the quiet way you choose to respect people even when no one's watching. Because in the end, it's not how you treat the important people that defines you. It's how you treat everyone else. You really learn a lot about someone when things don't go their way, the moments when plans fall apart, when stress hits hard, when something small turns into something bigger. That's when the real character shows. And believe me, men notice that. They may not say a word, but they're watching how you handle pressure. They're paying attention to how you respond when life isn't perfectly aligned. Because anyone can look composed when everything's going right. But how do you react when the coffee spills, when you're late and traffic's bad, when someone says something rude or unfair? Do you lose your balance, or do you take a breath and stay grounded? That's what stands out, not because men expect perfection. They don't. But because how you manage those small storms tells them so much about your emotional strength. There's a kind of quiet confidence in a woman who doesn't let frustration control her. The one who can take a deep breath instead of snapping, who can respond instead of reacting. That calm under pressure, it's not about pretending everything's fine, it's about knowing everything will be fine. Men sense that. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's steady, and that steadiness feels safe. Sometimes it's not even about the situation itself, it's about your energy in the middle of it. Are you someone who spreads the panic, or someone who helps calm it? The truth is, men are drawn to women who bring balance when things feel heavy, the ones who can find perspective when emotions run high, the ones who can laugh even when the moment feels tense. That's not just attractive, it's grounding. And it's not about suppressing emotion or being stoic. It's about owning your emotions instead of being owned by them. It's about self-awareness, When you know how to manage your mood, your reactions, your words, you show emotional maturity. That tells a man that you've done the inner work, that you don't crumble under pressure, and that's the kind of strength he remembers. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a stressful moment is pause. Just stop, breathe, and decide who you want to be in that moment. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every situation deserves a reaction. And when you can choose peace instead of chaos, even when it's hard, that's when you show your true power. Men notice that kind of discipline because it's rare. They notice when you keep your composure in a heated conversation, when you stay kind even when someone's being difficult, when you handle challenges with grace, not because it's easy, but because you've learned how to stay true to yourself, no matter what's happening around you. That's what makes you different. And here's the part most people don't realize. Your ability to stay calm in chaos doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. You set the tone. You shift the energy of a room. You make others feel safe, even in uncertainty. And that's something men deeply respect, because they know life isn't always smooth, and being around someone who can handle the rough parts with grace makes all the difference. So when life tests your patience, when something goes wrong, when you feel like snapping, when frustration creeps in, remind yourself that your reaction defines the moment more than the problem itself. You can choose to let it drain you, or you can choose to rise above it. Because at the end of the day, what men secretly notice isn't whether you have a perfect life. It's how you carry yourself when life isn't perfect. And that calm strength under pressure, that's what truly sets you apart. One of the most powerful things a woman can do is listen, really listen. Not just with her ears, but with her presence. You can feel it when someone's truly paying attention to you. Their eyes aren't wandering, their phone isn't in their hand, and they're not just waiting for their turn to speak. They're there. And that kind of attention, men notice it instantly. In a world that's loud and fast, real listening has become rare. Everyone's so used to talking, proving, defending, performing, but very few people actually pause long enough to understand. When a man meets a woman who listens to understand instead of listening to reply, it disarms him. It softens something in him. Because suddenly, he doesn't feel like he has to fight to be heard. He feels safe to just be. Listening is connection. It's respect in its purest form. It says, you matter. What you're saying matters. And when you do that, you create a space where his guard drops. He starts to open up in ways he normally wouldn't. Not because you asked him to, but because your energy told him it was safe. Men don't always talk about their emotions easily, but they feel when someone is emotionally tuned in. That's what draws them closer. And it's not just about nodding or saying, huh. It's about how you respond, the tone in your voice, the look in your eyes, the empathy behind your words. Do you make him feel heard or corrected, understood or analyzed? Men notice that difference. They notice when your curiosity feels genuine instead of judgmental. The truth is, people open up to those who make them feel seen, not those who make them feel small. When you listen without trying to fix, when you hold space without interrupting, you build a kind of trust that can't be faked. It's the kind of trust that says, I'm not here to control you. I'm here to understand you. And for a man, that's one of the most powerful experiences he can have, to be understood without having to explain every part of himself. What's interesting is that the best listeners aren't quiet because they have nothing to say. They're quiet because they're secure enough not to need to fill every silence. They know the value of giving someone room to speak. That kind of patience communicates confidence. It says, I don't need to dominate this space. I'm comfortable enough to share it. And that, right there, is deeply attractive. When you can listen with presence, you're not just hearing words, you're noticing what's behind them. You pick up on tone, energy, emotion. You hear what's said and what's not said. That level of awareness is rare, and it's what creates depth in a connection. Men might not have the words for it, but they feel it. They feel when someone gets them, when someone's tuned in enough to catch the small things others miss. So much of what people call chemistry is actually just being deeply understood. It's not the rush or the spark. It's that quiet moment when someone feels truly seen. When a man feels that, he doesn't forget it. Because genuine listening doesn't just make him feel heard, it makes him feel valued. So the next time you're in a conversation, don't just wait for your turn to talk. Slow down, be curious. Ask, what did that feel like for you? Listen not to respond, but to connect. That's where real communication begins. Because in the end, what men secretly notice isn't the sound of your voice. It's the silence that makes them feel understood. Confidence. It's one of those words people throw around all the time, but few really understand what it looks like. Real confidence isn't about walking into a room trying to be the loudest or the boldest. It's about walking in and not needing to compare yourself to anyone else. It's quiet. It's steady. It's the kind that doesn't need validation to exist. And that's exactly what men notice. The subtle confidence of a woman who's comfortable in her own skin. There's something magnetic about someone who doesn't chase attention, but still captures it. It's not because she's trying to stand out. It's because she's not afraid to stand as she is. That kind of confidence doesn't need makeup to shine or compliments to survive. It comes from within, from knowing who you are and what you bring to the table without needing to prove it to anyone. Men can feel that energy right away. They can tell when a woman is rooted in self-acceptance versus insecurity. The way she carries herself, the ease in her laugh, the lightness in her presence. All of it reflects a woman who isn't competing. She's not trying to be better than anyone else. She's just being the best version of herself. And that's the kind of energy that doesn't fade. Confidence doesn't mean you never doubt yourself. It doesn't mean you have everything figured out. It means you can own your flaws without apology. You can admit when you're wrong, you can laugh at yourself, and you don't let temporary insecurity define your worth. That kind of strength feels real, and men are drawn to it because it feels safe. It's not performance, it's peace. And there's a big difference between confidence and ego. Ego says, I'm better than everyone else. Confidence says, I don't need to be. One pushes others away, the other draws them in. When a man sees a woman who can celebrate others, who can compliment without feeling threatened, who can shine without dimming anyone else, he sees emotional maturity. That's what makes her stand out, because she's not powered by comparison, she's powered by authenticity. Confidence also shows up in how you handle imperfection. You spill something, you laugh instead of panicking. You make a mistake, and you don't fall apart. You're human, and you're okay with that. That kind of grace is what men find unforgettable, because it shows a woman who's real, not pretending, not posturing, not chasing perfection, just being honest and grounded in who she is. You see, when you're secure in yourself, you don't need attention. Your energy already commands it. People are drawn to that kind of peace, men especially, because deep down, they don't want someone who's always performing. They want someone who can be real, who can be present, who can make them feel calm just by being herself. That's what subtle confidence does. It doesn't chase the spotlight, it becomes the light. And maybe that's the secret. It's not about being flawless or impressive. It's about being self-aware enough to know your value, even when no one else is watching. When you can smile at your reflection without criticism, when you can be proud of your growth, even if no one notices, when you can stand tall in your truth, that's when you're most beautiful. Because at the end of the day, men may notice your looks, your laugh, or your charm. But what stays with them long after is the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to be her. And that kind of confidence, calm, unshaken, and real, is what they never forget. There's something deeply powerful about a woman who takes care of herself. Not because she's trying to prove something, not because she wants attention, but because she knows she deserves her own respect. Men notice that. They see when a woman values herself, when she treats her time, her mind, and her peace like they're worth protecting. It's not about being perfect or having it all together. It's about carrying a sense of self-worth that says, I know my value, even when no one else is watching. Self-love isn't loud. It's not a post on social media or a quote on a mirror. It's in the quiet choices you make every day. It's how you speak to yourself when you fail, how you set boundaries when something doesn't feel right, how you walk away from things that drain your energy. It's in how you rest, how you feed your body, how you care for your mind. Men notice that because self-respect has a different kind of glow. It's not something you can fake, it's something you become. When a woman takes care of herself, she's telling the world, without saying a word, how she expects to be treated. And men pick up on that. They notice when you don't tolerate disrespect, when you choose peace over drama, when you know when to say no. It's not attitude, it's awareness. You're not trying to prove your worth. You're just unwilling to forget it. That kind of strength is quietly captivating. What's interesting is that self-love isn't about selfishness. It's about balance. It's understanding that you can give, you can nurture, you can love others deeply, but not at the cost of your own peace. It's about knowing that pouring from an empty cup helps no one. Men see that. They see when you have a life, passions, and goals that exist beyond them. That independence doesn't push them away. It actually draws them in. Because a woman who loves herself deeply invites others to love her in the same way. With care, with respect, with consistency. It's the small things, really. The way you carry yourself when you walk alone. The way you don't rush into spaces just to be seen. The way you give yourself time to heal instead of forcing something that doesn't fit. Men might not say it, but they admire that discipline. It tells them that your happiness isn't dependent on who's standing next to you. It's something you've built from the inside out. There's a kind of peace that comes from knowing your own worth. You stop chasing things that aren't meant for you. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You learn to choose yourself, not because you're cold, but because you finally understand that you are enough. And that kind of confidence doesn't just make you attractive, it makes you unforgettable. Men notice when a woman has that balance, gentle but strong, loving but firm, kind but not naive. She doesn't beg for love, she embodies it. She doesn't chase validation, she radiates it. She doesn't settle, she aligns. That's what separates someone who just looks confident from someone who is confident, self-love. And the truth is, when you love yourself well, you raise the standard for how others treat you. You stop entertaining things that don't serve your peace. You become more intentional with your energy. And people, especially men, notice that kind of discipline because it's rare. So don't ever underestimate the power of how you treat yourself. The way you speak to your soul, the way you honor your limits, the way you choose yourself again and again, it all matters. Because that's what teaches the world how to love you. And that's what men secretly notice the most. The way you love yourself when no one else is watching.